Hey friends, Kate here from Venison for Dinner, and we have some very nerdy, very scientific things to share with you today. I was not happy with the yogurt I was making with store-bought yogurt recently, and I also found that too often we were either eating up the last of the yogurt and ending up not having any yogurt culture, or forgetting about the last jar in the fridge or something and it getting too strong to use as good yogurt culture. So I was ordering from Glengarry Cheese Making Supply some mesophilic and thermophilic culture, which aren't the primary things I use, but I like to keep them on hand in the freezer, and I needed some. I ordered 2 different cultures. I actually made 3.5 gallons yogurt total, but I'm just showing you a gallon of each. The first culture that I bought is called Reculture. I'm gonna get them from the fridge. Sorry, the freezer. Reculture, lactic ferment, and it's a Vienna culture. So this is their 10-dose bottle. This is like pretty full, there's a lot in it. So this one uses a 1/4 teaspoon per gallon of milk. And this is said to make 250 gallons of yogurt. So there you go. The next one I did is called ABY-2C. I kind of messed up my notes on there. And it was kind of this is the packet that makes 60 gallons of yogurt worth. So it was a little more confusing as to how much you would use. Like, it didn't necessarily, the instructions said like a 16th of a teaspoon for 2 liters, but then an 1/8 of a teaspoon for 15 to 20 liters. So I did an 1/8 of a teaspoon because that's double of the 2-liter amount. Not really sure how that worked out there, but that's what I decided to do. This was $10. So if it makes 60 gallons, my brain's not working that fast this morning. If it makes 10 gallons, it costs 16 cents a gallon. Sorry, if it makes 60 gallons worth, which I don't see that happening. I don't know what I'm missing here. Maybe I needed to use less culture. But if it does make the 60 gallons, they say that's 16 cents a gallon. Whereas Reculture, this big one, so they do have a smaller one. This was $40. So if it does make the 250 gallons, they say, that is also 16 cents a gallon. This one, I feel like this one is full. There's a lot in here. This one, I opened it up and was like, you're joking, right? Anyhow, I make yogurt many different ways, just depending on what my end goal is as far as what I'm doing with the yogurt. I primarily prefer to culture in jars. I don't usually do gallon jars, but I kind of figured I was gonna be straining this, so I decided to strain it, to do it in gallon jars. I heated up the milk in a heavy bottom stainless steel pot to 185 degrees. Let it sit there for a minute. Like, I turned off the heat, but then let it sit at that temperature for a few minutes, and then I put the pot in a sink full of cold water, and it fairly quickly dropped down to about 110, at which point I poured it into my jars, and then to each jar added the culture. Let it sit for a couple minutes for the freeze-dried cultures to rehydrate, and then whisked it in. So I whisked it in on the surface, and then I actually took a long wooden spoon and like drew the milk up and down so that I knew it was well done. So then I popped it in my dehydrator, my Excalibur dehydrator, which is where I primarily culture yogurt. I set it to 105 Fahrenheit for 6 hours. After, it was probably more like 7, maybe even 8 hours, that I then went and took it and put it in the fridge, and it's now been in the fridge for about 15 hours. It says to put it in the fridge for at least 12 to 24 hours before doing anything more or transporting it to help it firm up. And this is the reason that I don't usually make cultured yogurt in the Instant Pot. Like, I'll scald milk in the Instant Pot, but then pour it into jars and culture it elsewise, because every time you move yogurt, it gets thinner. So if your goal is that you are making yogurt and immediately straining it, make it in the Instant Pot. When I'm making yogurt and I'm just straining it right away because I need yogurt whey, for making cheese or making formula, raw milk formula, then I'll just make it in the Instant Pot. But if it's for us to consume, I do it in jars. The other thing is every time you touch the yogurt, you're introducing new bacteria. So every time you move it, you're shortening its shelf life. So when you culture it in a jar and put that jar immediately in the fridge and you have like quart jars, the shelf life in the fridge is a lot longer than if you've scooped it from your Instant Pot or your crock pot or whatever. It's a longer ramble than intended. I have a lot of words about yogurt. We're gonna try these and see what they're like texture, consistency wise, and then I'm also gonna strain some to see what that's like. So this is the Yakult. It smells really good. It smells like yogurt, but it smells sweet. It doesn't smell like really sharp. It smells really good. So it's obviously, well, you gotta focus on the yogurt, not me. Come on, you. It's nice and thick. I'm gonna get a bowl here. So when scooped into a bowl, I like to see what it looks like when it's stirred because I'm always stirring something into it and my kids are always stirring their bowls. So I've stirred it and it's still fairly thick. I don't really normally eat plain yogurt, but tastes like yogurt. Tastes good. It's got a tang to it. That's good. That was the Yakult. And here is the ABY-2C. I actually know someone who uses this culture and who's used it for a long time. I'm gonna ask her. So right off the bat, the milk on top looks different. I'm gonna show you this. So this is the ABY-2C. And you can see it like totally flat. There's like a bit of something there, but this one looks totally different on top. Could it be just because it had the frothiness of being whisked? But this one was whisked too. Okay, so this one, oh baby, this is so much creamier. Like, wow. Totally different consistency. So it right off the bat, I could tell it was different. And when I stir it, it's way creamier looking. When I stir it, the Yakult was a little more grainy. This is more mild. The Yakult's more tang. This is very mild. Wow. There's a huge difference. ABY-2C at this point is definitely the winner. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to strain these for 4 to 6 hours to see how they do once they're strained, if you can tell a huge difference at that point. First I'm gonna have a bowl of yogurt. Excuse my chaotic kitchen. I've been working in my office for the last 4 hours, but the yogurt is done. It's strained for about 6 hours. Twice I stirred it. So this one, let's see, it got nice and thick. Although honestly, my kids gobbled it up, not strained. They didn't care. And this one, because I couldn't find another strainer that would fit over a pot, this one was just straining into the sink. It just was what it was for today. Normally the pigs would get the way, but I just needed to get it done. So this one you can tell is not as smooth. These are gonna get thicker as they set up in the fridge. But let's see here. So this one in the sink is the Yakult, and it's definitely on the tangier side. Sitting out at room temperature for 6 hours is gonna make it a little tangier. And it is, like, it doesn't have as quite nice creamy like this one. This ABY-2C, it's still more mild. It's so creamy. I really think it doesn't even need to be strained unless you're a diehard Greek yogurt fan. So now I'm going to I'm gonna put these in jars in the fridge for us to enjoy. And then my last test that we're gonna do is I saved back some of the ABY-2C before it got strained, and I have more of the Reculturing in another jar in the fridge. And we're going to make new batches of yogurt using the yogurt as our culture, not the freeze-dried culture, to see how they do as continuous cultures. Because some freeze-dried cultures do not do well with that. So, let's see. It's strained. It's strained over. Oh, Rowan. The gallon of ABY-2C, although we did eat some of it, ended up a scant half gallon. Into the Reculturing, I stirred some huckleberry syrup, which is how I label jams that don't work out. They're a little sloppy. So I stirred those in so it's already flavored and ready for the kids to just eat it. And that will help that disappear real fast. I've now made another round of yogurt using, so first I made the yogurt using my normal method, using the freeze-dried culture to inoculate and culture the yogurt. And now I've made another batch of yogurt using the finished yogurt from the previous batches to see how they do reculturing, because some freeze-dried cultures don't stand up to reculturing. So, Freya, close the fridge. I don't have great hopes of this culture lasting forever, reculturing, but if I can at least get a few cultures out of it, it makes it more cost effective. So, first one is the Reculturing, which, if you remember, was not my favorite one. It's still good, it's just not as good as the ABY-2C. So it appears to have cultured up just fine. It seems really similar to when it was first cultured. A little grainy, as you can see, but still smooth. Still tastes good. It's definitely not as thick of a yogurt. I'd say just as tangy. And the ABY-2C. This one did up real nice and thick again. It's not, this is a small spoon here, should have used a bigger spoon. But it's nice and thick. So mild. Like, so mild. And delicious. And definitely thicker. So it definitely held up really well on a second one. Since I started talking about doing this side-by-side comparison, I have had people, my kids are doing math in the background. Hey Matt, could you turn that down? Hey Freya, I'm still videoing right now. Oh, sure, put them on the counter, Freya. So I've had people say that they use the ABY-2C and it's their absolute go-to, and that they freeze yogurt tray, like yogurt in ice cube trays, so that they have the culture to stretch it, and that works really well for them. So I don't think I'll do that. Well, I'll just try to keep it going, and when I use up a jar without realizing it's the last jar or whatever, I'm happy to just use some of the freeze-dried culture. So it was, the ABY-2C was $10 for what we do. I think we did the math earlier. I can't can't remember, $10 for it would do 60 gallons. I don't think it's gonna do 60 gallons, but it'll do a lot. So the Reculture was a lot cheaper culture. The ABY-2C absolutely wins out. I will not be rebuying the Reculture. I still have a lot to use now because I bought a bulk bottle. But I am about to have a baby in like a month or two. And we feed raw milk formula. I'll link that in the description. In the raw milk formula, there's yogurt whey. So what I do is I have to have yogurt whey for putting in the formula. And the baby probably drinks 100 mils, 50 to 100 mils of yogurt whey a day, like within the overall formula. Can't quite remember. So maybe I will just do, like, make big batches using the Reculture culture and then strain it, because then it is a lot thicker and a lot nicer, and save the yogurt whey versus mostly use this one for our eating yogurt, because I don't think the Reculture needs to be strained. I'm gonna actually show you, sorry, the ABY-2C. This is the ABY-2C when it's strained, and it's honestly like almost too thick. Like, it's like thick. Like, I prefer it not strained. And this was only strained for 5 or 6 hours. So maybe, unless you want like really thick yogurt, don't strain it, or just strain it for like a couple hours. But yeah, it is a thick yogurt for sure. So I hope you enjoyed my nerdiness on all this. Hey guys, Hamish, if you took it from her, give it back to her.
No, I didn't. I found this on the floor. I'm gonna fix it.
I am going to enjoy myself a bowl of yogurt now.